landed on planet 412. I'll be your captain of sorts as we navigate this strange, cryptid-filled world. Join me on the quest for truth, through the strange, mysterious, and supernatural. This is Planet 412. Okay, welcome to Planet 412. As you saw, I did something I didn't think I was going to do since video one. That's okay. We've had nothing but internet issues the past week. We have had a lot of problems lately, so I'm just glad that we are on the air. Uh, I wanted to say hello to everybody in the chat. I see Mountain Dew 825, Karen Root, Brother Heck, Scribbles, slow motion, and I know my brothers in arms are helping. I see my wife Stacy, Twirl Pros. The good thing though, Stace and everybody, that was for like 1 second. I was like, ooh. And the reason I was in here before that happened was because I was making sure the sound was working. The Bargers are on their way, and I just wanted to let them know that they could shoot over. I also wanted to show all my lovers of superheroes out there. I wore the Secret Wars shirt tonight. I know my wife's probably like, "What?" So who cares? Well, trust me, the guys in the chat care. I'm looking at. I see Andrew. What's up, Drew? Helping my wife with modding. JC, what's up, brother? Helping with modding. Now, I am going to discuss something before we start, and one of the things I'm going to start doing from now on is I'm going to be talking about a little information. I talked to a very good friend of mine, which my wife, Stacy, what's up, Tyler, and Amber? My wife can actually attest that I was on the phone with a very good friend of mine. I don't know if he wants me to say his name, but somebody who's a great friend who is a TV producer. And we were on the phone for like 2.5, 3 hours. And he made a little recommendation to me that before I go on the air, that I should, discuss a little information, especially something um, that has to do with the show. Now, yeah, granted, you see superhero stuff, and I'm going to move. I don't know if any of you see, and I'm going to pick up my camera, and you guys can see one thing that tonight has to do with the Dogman. Anybody wants to see anything else there, we'll look at them another time. But you see, this is my Dogman area. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is that is a part of the description that I am going to talk about, before the Bargers get here. So, what I'm going to do, since obviously the Bargers are coming, Joe Barger, everybody knows, and just so that everybody knows, in the description for tonight's live stream, you can see the link to the original interview that I did with Joseph. So, what I'm going to do since we're waiting for them is, and I'm going to tell them one more time. And if you guys are watching, come on in, guys. I sent you the link. So, in folklore, the Michigan Dogman, now we're touching on Michigan because that's where Joe is from. So, the Michigan Dogman was a creature allegedly witnessed in 1887, Wexford County, Michigan. in 1 second. Hold on 1 sec. They're saying they did not get a link. I did send it, and I will send it to them real quick so that I can finish talking to you guys. I feel bad for them that they, hold on. I am going to send it. She is listening, so I am going to send the link to you guys right here, Jenny, and you guys can copy and paste to email. Okie dokie. Now, let's get back to that, guys, while we wait for them. The Michigan Dogman in 1887, Wexford County, Michigan, United States. It was described as a 7 foot tall, blue eyed, or ironically, amber eyed bipedal canine like animal with the torso of a man and a fearsome howl that sounds like a human scream. Not like a human scream, definitely, but ironic that the first thing that it talked about, guys, was an amber uh, color of the eyes. And I'm getting another message here, and they are doing it. Good. We got to give them, I don't know if they're on the road like they were last time, but we got to give them a little time here, which I can give you guys some time. So, according to legends, the Michigan Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle that falls on years ending in 7. That's odd. Um, if you guys remember my experience when I was 14, 1987, I did not plan reading this. That's really crazy. I did not know that. I'm going to have to let my buddy David Wolf, who is from ETS Exposing the Strange. If you guys recall, a few live streams a few weeks ago, he was on. And one of the things that we talked about, he has a documentary coming out about me and some other people that have had the experience of seeing a dog man or being attacked or something like that, coming out in the spring or summer. He wondered when we finished. Um, and I see them. Hold on, guys. We'll be finished in a minute. He wondered what the phases of the moon were. Now, ironically, everybody, you can go backwards to this internet site. If you Google it, you can go backwards in time and you can check out the phases of the moon. Ironically, um, hold on, he was there and then he disappeared. Hey, Jennifer, Joe, if you guys are waiting, you don't have to leave, buddy. You can go and then you can just stay there. I am going to finish talking to everybody and I'll pull you in. We have to finish our discussion. So, we found out, David Wolf and I, and Mountain Dew Matt has backup. Backup. Okay, I'm coming in too late. Sorry. So he wondered what phase of the moon it was when I was. Um, Joseph, stay there, buddy. I'll be there in 1 minute. Okay, stay there. Um, Full moon, guys. Second part of the week. Um, Not only that, it was full moon. So if you go to 1987, which again, I still can't believe. Those of you coming in, I'm reading about dogmen. And it says here, I'm going to just touch on this again. According to legends, the Michigan Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle that falls on years ending in 1987. Okay. So he asked if we could look up what during that year phases of the moon, 1987. It was Wednesday or Thursday of that week. We look full moon. So just a little, you know, trivia for everybody. I also wanted to let everybody know all proceeds of this video and anything coming up um, are going to be put towards new equipment. If Stacy, if you could drop the link to Amazon. So just to let everybody know, this is not, something that I ever do. As you guys know, it's something I'm not extremely comfortable with. But the planet 412, something popped on the screen. I'm sorry. Planet 412 is on the verge of some major and incredible things that are going to change here very soon. I need the help of my subscribers. I need the help of my channel. And to do that, um, for the changes to come, I need you guys to possibly help and look at what these pieces of equipment are. Their microphone, their some other types of things. I need a new computer. And the reason I'm pointing that out is I'm being told by so many people that the sound is off, the microphone is terrible. Well, there is no microphone. So I was just asking about that. And if you guys could help Planet 412 jump ahead, I would greatly appreciate that. Regina Parton, new member, thank you. And I'm also going to throw up a banner here. We have a sponsor, one sponsor, and that is Josh Turner from Paranormal Roundtable. Is my first sponsor of all time. So these are his hours. These are when his show is. Please go and support Josh Turner too. And uh, Joe has left the live stream. I don't know why. So I was just trying to explain to everybody what is going on. I apologize that I don't know if Joe is having some problems or what. Um, so there you go, right there again. They said they can't hear. Okay, well, they had problems before. Jenny, if you can see, just tell Joe to go back. I will fix the problem. Just go back to that link, please. You guys are witnessing in live what happens sometimes. So please go back, Joe. I will take care of you, brother. It's it's gonna be fixed as soon as you end up back in. Okay, Stace. I have to send the link. Thank you, Starshine. Hold on. All right, Joe. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Joseph, can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes,
Hey.
I can. I
Yeah,
can.
so just to let you know for future reference when you do stuff, and Starshine and Crystals, thank you. Um, when you're in the green room like a movie star, like you are today, you are a movie star, you're muted. So that's why you couldn't hear anything. So
Okay.
everything's good now. Everybody, Joe Barger. I'm sure I don't need to do much of an introduction, but Joe, why don't we real quick give everybody a quick bio of who you are?
Okay. Um, well, I'm Joe Barger. I had an encounter that changed my life about 7 years ago, and I guess I'm at this point in time. A lot of people know what that is, yeah, but it's with the Dogman. And as a truck driver, I encountered this, and I'm still a truck driver and done a lot of things in the past, but the truck driving is my life for a long time now. And I'm just out here thinking that keeping myself quiet for so long was not a good idea, and there's people that need to hear it, and it's very important to get this kind of information out, So that's that's kind of it right there, you know, introduction of
Well, I wanted to, for everybody and for myself, thank you for being here, Joe. You and I have started to become very good friends. Same with your wife. I wanted to, let everybody know as well that you
right,
guys, you and your wife, Jenny, and our friend now, Allison, have been extremely supportive of me
right,
over the last month with just, and the hospital and as a friend in many ways. And I just wanted to thank you guys, in
yeah,
front of everybody and tell you I appreciate it. Now, obviously, everybody has figured out also that, since Joe had an experience with a dog man that connects the two of us, when we had you on last time, we kind of touched on some other things. Now, obviously, you were explaining your experience, but what we really didn't get to talk about was the future, where we're going to go from that. And I kind of alluded to my mindset about things I want to see change. Now, I do remember I discussed with you the irony of how you have different uh, sects. So sects, guys, not the other word, of cryptids, where you have, Dogman here, Wendigo here, Chupacabra, Bigfoot, or some people call, when they get into this, we want separated. You get into some people call them apers. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but what that means, everybody, is that somebody who only in the Bigfoot phenomena area, they do not believe that there is anything else, and they only believe that not only does Sasquatch exist, and that Sasquatch is the only one, the majority of them only believe that it's a natural, or it is being a creature. It is a natural phenomena. I find it extremely ironic that you would believe in something like that wholeheartedly. But then you get into something, Joe, like you and I had our experiences with, and they won't even humor that. So I am big on the mindset, and I'm trying with my buddy Ernie Davio, who will come in later today, to try and bring these communities together. And I'm hoping that you will also be somebody that can be a purveyor of that. What are your thoughts on that situation, Joe?
well, that's trying to reiterate what I was saying before about talking about it. It's actually very important. I come to realize that if I stay quiet about it, it's not going to reflect well on me with uh, the Lord, right? So I didn't think, and I come to realize that I think these are supernatural, you know, in nature. So um,
Well, before we jump, my wife let me know real quick. I did not want to forget this one because it was farther up. Audacious Amber wanted to ask you, what year did your event happen?
2017 in June.
Okay, thank you. Um, so you obviously, again, just commented on the supernatural, or what a lot of people call the woo.
Right.
I'm sure you've heard people talk about that. You know,
Oh,
you and I both know, Joe, we've talked about this. Um,
yeah,
you know, from my experience, there is no maybe if we're thinking about 150%, there was supernatural things going on with my experience.
yeah,
Let's look at some of them real quick. This isn't about me, it's about you, but we're talking about,
yeah,
both of them brought together. This being came into the blast furnace where me and my friends were hiding.
right.
One of the things right away that we had noticed outside, which you noticed as well, were extremely bright, almost power source bright, like flashlight, amber colored eyes.
Exactly.
That
Yeah,
that stuck out. Um, Secondly, what I had noticed was, it stepped by the fire. You could see almost uh, at the tips, maybe translucent, of its hair,
exactly.
translucency. You said you noticed that as well. Could you
Yeah,
explain exactly what you saw?
yeah. It's as and mine was still during the day, and it looked almost exactly like what you described in every way, um, as far as size even too. Um, but as the light was hitting it, as it was moving next to me while I was driving, as the hair was moving and the fur was moving. It had a mane on it too, like sort of like a lion's mane, and it would all shimmer on the tips as the light was hitting it different, and that's different angles. So it was. I don't know if that could have something to do with its cloaking ability, or mine didn't do that. That because mine was a lot shorter in duration than yours, but
Mhm.
I didn't give it a chance to, hang out too long, but yeah, I saw enough to think that that possibly could be it. And of course, I was a corporal being as far as I could tell, but the more I researched and delved into what I witnessed too, there's supernatural components to these creatures. That
Mhm.
I'm just convinced of that at this point. I didn't know anything about him back then. I never even heard of him, you know, at that point. This is just a huge learning curve in the last several years for me.
The learning curve for me, obviously, when I was 14, I didn't have, the access to, all of these people in the cryptid community. The cryptid community may have existed in a very small, and it did, they were mostly Sasquatch believers. There really wasn't much to it. I became obviously infatuated, but touching real quick, we'll hit that comment in a second there, Joe. I have to go back for everybody. So, as Joe talked about, he noticed some cloaking ability when my dog man came into the room. You saw the light from the eyes, you saw the light against the wall. The dog man stepped near the fire, and its left front leg touched the ground near the fire, mere 2 feet from it, and cloaking occurred. Now, anybody that has seen the Predator movies, the franchise, you know what they look like when they cloak. It was almost identical. And what occurred as well was some strange type of other event. Not only did the arm, and it was only the front left arm, paw, raccoon hand. Um, Not only did it cloak out, what occurred was the fire next to it, and many of you have heard this, I'm sure, before. The fire had actually reached out towards the arm and only the arm. You saw that if you do video, hit Google of um, storms on the sun, and you will see the way that these magnetic storms occur on the surface of the sun, and that's what it looked like. 3 to 5 seconds, the arm turned back to the regular form color, and the fire jutted back. Um, that was something extremely supernatural and mind blowing. There was also something else that occurred. I don't know if you saw anything like this, Joe. I forget. But as our dog man had left the building when the train had come by and spooked it, it ran down one flight of stairs, and I just always say in a physical manner. You could see it running, the feet touching the ground. But then once it turned and hit the last set of stairs, you could see nothing touching the ground anymore. You saw some form, but for the most part, there was a huge black amorphous shadow. You could see kind of points where the ears were, maybe a little muzzle, no legs touching the ground. And it wasn't like something just floated out. As soon as it kind of turned into this amorphous shadow, gone. Just like you held up the flashlight to your hand and your hand shadow hits the wall and you go like that. That's what occurred. Did you ever notice anything else like that day, Joe?
No, not I didn't, because what I saw was completely on our physical plane, the way as we know it. As I was looking in my mirror after I shot it and it fell, and it was sliding in the weeds and knocking all that weeds and everything that was in its way as it was sliding.
Mm-hmm.
It was already dead. I could tell. So I and the dust was kicking up, and it was completely on, like, it was on our physical plane. And as I was leaving and got out of sight of it, I could see the whole thing, and it looked like completely like a physical animal, completely to me. That doesn't mean
That's
that's not what it is, but completely either. But there's so much we still don't know how this all works, but we do know they come in, at least they come into our 3D existence, or plane of
now.
dimension or whatever. So yeah, it's
I
it
apologize. I interrupted. I
that's
wanted
fun.
to bring something up as
Yeah,
I'm looking for Audacious Amber's comment. I accidentally closed it. Um, I'll let you talk on to this. What are your thoughts on? Because you talked about almost what I love to talk about. I talk about that veil, that
yeah.
veil of reality that basically is in front of us right now. If we look around, I always say the same thing. There is something right in front of us, an invisible veil that if we were able to notice what's around us, I'm not, and again, I always say this too, I'm not trying to scare everybody, but there are beings around us. There could be a portal right to our left. There are things around us that are beyond our ability to see. But as was told to me by a priest after my Dogman experience, um, once in a while, and I'll quote, these things bleed into our realm or our dimension or universe, and sometimes we see them. What's your thought on that
Well,
tale?
I have consulted quite a few people since I've been talking about this, that have contacted me, that's been researching stuff like this for decades, and they have just so much information and that you can glean from this. And they tell me, almost I think almost everybody that I can think of has told me that what they found is they're absolutely supernatural, but
Hmm.
there is the physical in our world that they can manipulate as well. And and but they did say, especially with the Dogman, because it looked like I shot it in the eye. That is probably the only way you're going to kill this thing, you know. And I just happened to do that. So um, I do believe that um, when they're in our existence, you can kill them, but it has to be a certain way, or it doesn't really affect them because they're not completely. They are, but they're not completely in our um, world of physics as we know it. You know, they
You
are,
know,
but
go ahead,
yeah,
Joe. Finish.
yeah. And I just was saying that they are able to manipulate and do harm and do physical things and eat and things like that. And but at the same time, the reason they're hard to kill is because they're like a little bit probably out of phase of where we're at,
Hmm.
enough to where our you think, killing them or trying to protect yourself is a lot harder to do. Or that probably has to do with the cloaking and the things like that, because so many people have shot at these and with no or little effect, and many times, but they just didn't hit it right, exactly right, like I did, and that's one of the reasons, I came out, because people are saying you can't kill these things. And it's like, well, I don't know what I did,
Hmm.
you know. So um yeah, that's what I know about that. I've talked to many people with lots of experience, and they are actual real researchers, that you don't ever hear about, you know.
I've heard actually a couple times different experience. I'm sure you can imagine since I had my channel come out, the number of people that reach out to me. And, I've actually been reached out by some people in law enforcement and military, ex-military. And, I've been told a couple experiences actually recently. Um, Two different men from different parts of the country that were one is ex-military, another he says he was ex-SWAT. But what they both said, which was extremely interesting, one was from Oregon and the other was from, I believe, from your neck of the woods, from Detroit. And they both talked about uh, injuring, not killing dogmen. And they both said that they hit, and again, these guys never spoke, that they both hit in the ear area behind, right in the neck, behind the ear.
Yeah,
And they both said almost identical things. And I, for a second, thought that like these guys were in cahoots, that they knew where they were. But this was 2 months separated. So there
yeah,
was just no way they knew each other. They both said the same thing. And this is why I thought also there might have been a connection, was they both said that when they hit these things, they went down. The
yeah,
one guy almost said something almost exactly like you did about, running into a clothesline. Um, but they both said that they got up and, shook their heads. And the one guy said it had blood all running down its back and everything like that, but it got up and it ran away on all fours. The other guy said that it got up and basically had done a couple strange things, shook its head, and almost said that he said it looked, this was weird too, looked transparent for like 10 seconds as it was, shaking. He said it actually dropped to all fours and it started like scratching like a dog would and towards the ear area and then stood up, wasn't partly transparent, and looked at him, growled, or he said almost looked like a smile, and
yeah,
left.
yeah. Well, I don't think that is the
There's
case
a
with me.
question here. Um, from Audacious Amber had asked this a long time ago. I apologize, honey. So wait a minute. Werewolf or dog man? Ears on top or sides? Dog back legs or human? You can answer it. Ours were exactly the same, Joe.
Yeah, yeah, it was a dog man. I know there's a werewolf I don't know anything about. I would think what I saw was a werewolf, but there's obviously, from what I've heard, there is a difference. Like it's more like a werewolf is considered more human looking. It doesn't have as much of a muzzle and ears are on the sides and has human legs and I guess they're have a little bit more human features than a dog man. But what I thought I saw was a werewolf, exactly pretty close to, I think the Van Helsing one. I guess if you watch that, that's about as close as I can. The black one on Van Helsing, was probably as close in Hollywood as I could say, even though that's not quite right either. But
Which
it's
is ironic, again, something, and I think why you and I have, we've gotten to be good friends just for other reasons. I'm not trying to say just because there's the
right.
connection between but let's be honest, everybody, you have events like this. Um, we have events like this, it's going to make you close. And, some of the things that occurred exactly the same with you and me. I mean, almost like, we were together when our
Yeah.
experiences
It,
happened.
it, it
Really,
almost
well,
reminds. Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna. I was just gonna say, almost reminds me of military or band of brothers. You've experienced similar things in life-threatening situations, and you get bonded that way. That's kind
agree.
of
And,
what because I was in the army, so I know that's kind of what it reminds me of. So yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but my wife Stacy also brought up because your experience was what year again?
What year? Oh, 2017.
1987.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I was talking about before the show? So I was discussing things about dogmen and apparently it talked about the Michigan dogman, but let's be honest, it's all over. One of the myths, and I don't buy myths as much as I used to because how many myths came true for us. One of them it's that is that there is a 10-year span between supposed occurrences of these beings. There's a lot
Right.
more now, but it
Yeah.
always says that it ends in a seven, which
Yeah,
is crazy.
that's in the legend in Michigan. That's how that
Yeah.
works. Isn't that is weird? I noticed that too. Uh,
And I just that blows my mind for me, mine was 1987 and yours was then did you know I'm gonna have to I'm trying to I'm gonna bring up real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Stacy. Brother Heck actually has a comment for you. It says, and for me, can he speak? Oh, this is for you.
okay.
Joe, can you speak on the handlers who approached you afterwards that said they unalived their assets?
I'm alive.
Unveiled.
Yeah.
I think that's one he meant. Yeah,
Yeah.
unveiled.
Yeah. Uh,
It's
right.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Mistakes
Um,
happen.
well, there was there was a few things that happened. There were the people when I came back, when I turned around and came back, there were the people there. I didn't know who they were. Come to find out, they had to be the handlers. So I really didn't have the altercation too much with them. It was just more of a hey, what are you doing here? I was concerned for their safety, and the thing was gone, and and then pretty much left from there, and it was over. This was a few months later after, well, not a few months later from there. It was about a year later. I talked to Lance Hightower about it, and he did narrate it on his channel. Um, and right after that had happened, a few months after that, I got pulled into the scale station. I was still driving a truck, uh, and they held me there for federal authorities to come, and they didn't like come at me right away like you killed our asset, but that's ultimately what they said when I started pressing them. They were here to investigate you and your involvement in some. I verbatim, I can't remember. There was so much happening from these guys, and they were taking my phone away and stuff like that. But um, there's a matter that they're really concerned about, that they got to get squared away, and they got to tell me how this is going to happen, and this and that. And then I kept, well, what's it about? And this and that, and then they finally, and they're really kind of mad, and they're really pissed off about this whole thing and trying to intimidate me. And they said, well, you killed our asset. And I'm like, what? I'm like, and then I didn't get it right away. Because I kind of forgot what happened. I wasn't thinking about that at that time,
Right.
and I was like, okay, well, yeah, I see what's happening here now, and so with the government involvement and everything, boy, that put a new twist on things, and it was even more disturbing than ever now. Um, and yeah, of course, there's a whole story about what they did with me there, and with keeping one of my firearms, and giving my phone back. I bet you they cloned it, and they put a tracker on my private vehicle, and froze my bank account, and they did some other things that were just to show that they could do it, and that if I talked anymore or mentioned it again in public, I guess that I didn't even say it. It wasn't even me talking, but they knew who it was after it went out like that, even though he didn't mention my name or anything, or what state it was in or anything. It was just, but after that went out and he narrated it, they knew who it was. They can track your truck GPS and your logs and everything. They know where you're at. They can.
What year was your truck, Joe?
What's that?
What year was it 2017 that
Yeah,
year as well?
yeah,
So those have, at that point in time, I had Sierras leased every 3 years. I got a GMC Sierra.
yeah.
During that time of 2017, you have, OnStar. They could follow those vehicles.
Oh yeah.
They did things like that. What's the most serious thing they ever did? Was it the bank account?
Them. No, my firearm was one that bothered me the most because I'm a gun guy, and
Mhm.
they just took my gun. I mean, those are all troubling things that happen, but I had a that was actually kind of hard to find, and I haven't seen another one since I had that one. I haven't been able even.
I missed what kind it was, Joe.
It
What
was, well, that was a rifle. It was a Mini 14 chambered in 300 blackout. It was a rifle. I hid my pistol behind my CB, so before they got there, so they never found that. But that was my rifle that I had in the back, as a kind of more protection if things got any worse than a pistol problem.
Mhm.
So, and it was chambered in 300 blackout, and that's a hard one to find.
Right.
So, but I got it back. I have it now. It just took them 5 years
Was
to get.
the strange way it happened? Did you mention that, by the way? Not to interrupt you.
What did I mention? What that they
How
took
you
from?
had how you had got it back?
Yeah, I had mentioned that before. Yeah, it happened. When was that? That was last year.
September. It was right. It was about a month or so or two after the conference.
Yeah.
First conference, so that would have been 2022. It was like September of 20, late August, early September of
August.
2022.
August. It was in August. I'm sitting here talking to Jenny. She probably remembers better. It was.
I have a video of it.
She was with me when it happened. She has a video of it. Everything.
Jenny, if you want to come in here, we were hoping Jenny would say hi.
Oh, you can. She can come in and say hi. She's right here, though.
Come on, Jen, jump in here.
There's nowhere for me to sit, so I'll just say hi a second.
Yes, we're not really set up for both
Yeah,
of us.
we don't have a desk and all that, so it's
or a lap.
yeah.
Poke your head in at
Okay.
least and say,
Okay, here we go.
Hi,
how are
everybody.
you?
This is backwards. Hi.
Everybody wanted to say hi to you. How are you, dear?
I'm okay. I've had a headache this evening, so I'm kind of laying back, but I'd like to join you. I'm over here in the chat, so
Can
Eclipse
you
Truth, remember?
stop behind? Is there room behind Joe there near that
No,
pillow?
this is a corner.
It's a fireplace.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
and
Well,
he's
you
got
know, I'll
doggy
say
on his lap on top of it.
Aw, who's that?
That's Kraken. That's the Kraken.
That's the Kraken right there.
Great
Hey,
name.
Kraken.
That is the greatest name, Kraken.
Isn't he
Oh,
scary?
He's scary.
I'm sorry your head hurts, Jen. So we'll make sure next time we're gonna do, more in the future that
Yeah.
you will get in there.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to some of these like round table type stuff, just to
You will, and just for you because you had a bad night and couldn't join us. We'll make sure we do another one down the road. Um,
okay.
Here's something I can
Thank
ask
you
you.
guys.
Thank you for being here. Um, and thanks for helping Joe, Jenny.
Absolutely, anytime.
So, Indy Southpaw, Tammy, I'm going to out her. Has Joe had anything new happen since he started sharing his story? Any new government threats, etc.?
Well, not since they returned that firearm to me. It was in August or September. I think it was actually September because it was right after Labor Day, I believe. And so it was in 2022 when I got it back.
Okay.
Um, and of course, I dealt with it because I didn't want to have anything um, come back on me. They had it so long; they could have done anything with it, and so I had it dealt with, so I don't have to worry about forensics on, it being framed for anything I didn't do. You know, in case that's an angle they want to, run on me too. So, uh, and ever since then, no, and I've been more vocal than ever. And because I'm like, whatever. I'm not afraid of it. If it's my time, if they can do whatever they want. If it's my time, it just is. Um, I'm not.
Gotcha. Well, you know what? I have said this since I had my near death experience. And that's going to be something that I discuss in coming time here. I promised a lot of people I was going to talk more about that and talk about the meaning of the planet 412 and all that. Well, I'm going to, that's a hard discussion to tackle is things like that.
Yeah.
But it definitely changes your mindset on life. I don't want to die, obviously, but
Right.
since I had my near death experience, I don't fear death anymore. So
Yeah.
something I'm going to touch on. I let's get to the next question. Did Joe ask them any questions about the asset? Did you ask them questions?
Well, yeah, I was trying to, but it was hard for them to get them to answer anything I was doing. Trying to ask them things from as they were doing their thing with my phone, they went back to their vehicle. One of them did. The other one was just grilling me about things, and some of it kind of random, like what is that about or whatever. But I think they were just trying to keep me off balance. And
Were they playing good cop, bad cop with you?
yeah, sort of, yeah, you know, that routine. And
Yeah.
I did ask them that, well, where are you guys from? I mean, how do I know who you guys? I know you must have authority because you were able to do this here, but um, the the one guy flipped out. This is, you know, something look official. I don't know what I'm looking at, but he said, only thing we're going to tell you is that we're going to let you know that, you know, you're not going to talk about this again, and this is a matter of Homeland Security. That's all they told me. They said they were from Homeland Security. I don't know any more than that, though. They wouldn't tell me anything else.
Okay. Well, I
Um,
mean, fair enough to you. Did they ever brandish any type of, you know, uh, badges
yeah,
or?
yeah, they flipped out. It wasn't really a badge. It was sort of a form that looked official with a little seal or something on it. I don't know. It looked like it was a thing, but I didn't look real close, and it didn't matter that much to me because obviously they do have some authority over the state police somehow. So they, you know, must be, they have to be, right? Um,
Absolutely, you have a situation like that.
yeah.
Um, we are going to, in the next couple minutes here, have Ernie Davio, who is somebody that's really well known to the cryptid community and me, you know, on my show. He's one of my very good friends. But before he does, and he's going to have some questions for you. But I wanted to ask um, our chat. Guys, now we have Joe here answering questions, obviously, about his Dogman experience. It doesn't have to be right then when it happened. If you have any other questions about what maybe he thinks, go ahead. Ask questions for the two of us, what our thoughts are together, or ask me. You know, it doesn't matter. It's up to you. Um, so let's see. Nobody yet. So what I am going to do, let's see, it would be great if Joe got them on record. Yes, it would have been great, Joe, if you got them on recording, but I'm sure that they were probably thinking about a
Oh,
situation like,
they were recording me, that's for sure. I couldn't record them. They had my phone. They took my phone away. I couldn't do anything, you know, like that. Yeah, I don't
now.
know if I would have even thought of that really, but I might have. I just didn't. I wouldn't have been able to do it.
How and now I want to go back to so just to let anybody that has not heard the experience when you know one of the things if you've heard or and most of you most likely had um, about the size of, and we'll get to Amber to your question again. She's tearing it up with questions tonight. Was the size of what I saw? You know, I always make the comment so big it looked fake. You spoke about how you know everyone can pretty much picture how big a semi is. That this thing had its head in the window, and I'll let you finish describing the size of that thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. You can imagine them at 9 feet where I'm sitting in my seat driving, and as I'm driving, like I'm at about 25 miles an hour, maybe 30, as I'm going up a hill, and it is not going to go any faster until I get to the top. And this thing is got his head, he's bending down. His head is just as big as the window on the just next to my mirror over there as I looked over, and it's just pure black, just you know, just the nastiest grimace and snarl. And there's, I think, there's a few pictures I think that um, really emulates pretty close to what I saw that Jenny is going to send you. Um,
Okay.
it's some artwork that we just come across that um, somebody did, with my story, and it's really, really good. It was kind of disturbing when I saw it. It was so good. But yeah, that's kind of where it is. He was blacking out. I was in a day cab at the time, so I didn't have a sleeper behind me, and the windows behind me were blacked out with black too.
I just
And
sent those to your text, Matt.
and
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So, oh wow. Now, who made these guys?
That was Carol Ann from the In Between podcast.
Her name is Carol Ann.
Now, before I'm going to try and get these up as we're talking, because what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to send it to the computer and all that. But I want you to, Joseph, to Audacious Amber has another question. Have you had any other stalk your house? Excuse me. No,
What's that again? Have I had anyone stalk? Um,
yeah.
well, that was pretty obvious that they at least stalked that one time when I got my gun back. Um, they put it in my locked pickup truck, which I don't know how they did that, but that's I had a tonneau cover on it. It's just a flat, and it's hard, and it's a hard cover and it locks. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they put it in there in a big like box that looked like you put a frame in, and
Oh, okay.
and that's what I found, and that would have had to been done over the weekend. We didn't even go anywhere for the whole weekend. We stayed at home, and
Freaked
I
you
got
out that much.
yeah. That's the only time I'm aware of it anyway. That had to be around my house when they did that.
Okay.
So
Okay, let me see here if we have any other questions. Still waiting on my buddy Ernie to pop over. He must be having some problems. Anybody, if you have any questions. Okay, let's see, Brother Heck. I included you in the discussion with my questions. So I lost my personal mods. He disappeared. So hold on a second. Brother Heck, where did it go? If that was the same question that he answered, hey, Brother,
they probably do realize if they know who I am too. These official people, it's probably not the best idea to stalk around my house. It,
I agree. And
I
you know
don't.
what, Joe? A lot of people talk about, these beings um, that once you see them, that they know who you are, supposedly, that you are, you know, marked for life. Brother Heck, if you could elaborate on what that question was, I lost lost yours. I'm trying to find out why Ernie having trouble here. I think you know what's funny. You go to the confessionals. You go to other channels, as mine, people that deal with Dogman. For some reason, there's always, and it's been adding up. I've been doing a little bit of research. People that have Dogman experiences on their show, um, there are problems. Like with Tony Merkel at the confessionals, he has a roadcaster like I use, a audio uh, roadcaster that I use for calling football games when I'm doing my color commentating. He had two. at different times burn up, which these are very expensive pieces of equipment. They've got backup. Um, he interviewed Martin Groves, it burned up, and he interviewed someone else and it burned up. So I make a point, I don't hook my roadcaster up unless I'm doing football
What?
games, especially. Yeah. So, all right, we have some questions. Um, let's see. How do you say their name? H. Let's see. Hizzo 64 double H. I have a question. I had a Dogman experience in 1995. My question is, how long was the neck on yours? You and Matt. Mine looked like something was holding a mask at the end of their arm. Well, that's odd. Joe, I'll let you answer that first.
No, didn't have a long neck whatsoever. It looked like its muscles in its neck just were fused into its shoulder muscles at the top. There was a lot of hair there, but it and a mane, but it looked proportional to what you would think a wolf would look like with, an average neck for its size. It was in proportion. It was, had the size of a grizzly or Kodiak bear, but at
Mhm.
least, um, but no long neck at all. That is really that's something different. I don't know what that is.
Well, for me, um, it wasn't especially short. I would say it was medium for me. It definitely wasn't something extremely long, uh, but long enough to notice that it wasn't like a bear situation or something where it's like this or a person. And I see we have Ernie Davio in the green room. So just to let you know real quick, his 64HH. Mine had a medium one, and he's getting up. Um, okay, he's fixing the light just to give you guys play by play. And there's 72 people in here. I would like more. Now 73, just to let everyone know, 72 was one of my football numbers, so I get excited when I see that. So, what did you mean, Hizzo, when you say that? Can you elaborate what you mean? It looked like someone was holding a mask. Now, I've seen AI pictures of these things on the internet. Someone trying to get an AI to do a picture of a dog man, and it basically doubled the head. So it has the face and the head of the picture, and then there's the hand, but instead of a hand, it's the dog man's face. We're going to bring Ernie in real quick. Mr. Davio, sir, you made it.
Hey, good to see you.
How are you, sir?
Oh, better now. It was a little bit of a chore getting on, but I'm on now.
That's okay. Have you ever met Mr. Joe Barger?
No, not in person. I'm aware of your encounter. I've seen a few of the podcasts that you've been on, Joe. Very
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I've never met you either, Ernie, but nice to meet you.
Yeah, we
Have you
probably heard
ever
of
heard?
each other.
Have you ever heard Joe's? Have you ever heard Ernie's experience before, Joe?
If I have, I don't. I maybe if I hear it again, I might have heard it, but I don't know what it is right offhand.
I'll be the one to throw it real fast for you there, Ernie. So Ernie had a real experience, in my opinion, and he will definitely let you know. So what happened with Ernie was he was hunting, and it was in where was it in Vermont,
Um, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. He was hunting, and basically, in a nutshell, yeah, he came up on a Sasquatch that came up to him and short explanation, did sign language with him, spoke to him in one way, like doing different signs. and it was a very positive event, Ernie. So what I'll do for you after the interview, Joe, is I am going to share, in my opinion, two of the best, mine and Sibylla Irwin's. Sibylla, I don't know if you're aware of Sibylla. Sibylla is a graphic artist.
Oh, yeah, I know Isabella. She's actually started working with me on my
Okay.
iteration. Yeah,
Well, she did, and she'll do an incredible job. She did Ernie's. She did mine. I worked with her for over a year. I don't know if you ever
yeah.
saw the
We
picture.
did. We're not finished yet, but we were real close. You know, we're real close. Yeah. Actually, Jenny's going to
Okay,
send.
so we have
Good.
two questions, real quick. Uh, After both of your experiences, have any of you had a paranormal or odd occurrence that they call the hitchhiker effect? I believe I have, but I'll ask the Joe. Have you had that?
Uh, the hitchhiker effect. You mean like entity has
Connected to
been
you.
connected to me? I don't think so. And me and Jenny have talked about this before, and we've heard other people that it usually happens to, this
Hmm.
hitchhiker effect. And the reason she thinks that I haven't had any of that is because I killed it. That's
Okay.
and I haven't dreamt about that one either. I've had a lot of nightmares since then, and and it hasn't ever
Thank
been
you,
about
Jenny.
that one. It's always been about other ones, and a lot of them. Um, so, no, not in my case. I don't think. And
I got you.
yeah,
Jenny, I just want to say thank you. I didn't see that till right now. The Eclipse Truth is Mrs. Barger, so thank you for that donation very much.
Keep doing an awesome job like you are. Just want to support when we
You.
can.
Thank you very much. I needed to answer another question, and then I'm going to let Ernie hit some questions as well. Let me hide this real quick. So, and of course it disappeared. So I believe it um, was this one right here. Okay, I think it was Glade Creature. So all kinds of crazy things are reported at times carrying a masked, deformed body, long neck, overly long snout, overly big head, some with clothes, some smoking cigarettes. That's a new one. I have never
Me
heard
too.
of it. Yeah, so
like a cartoon.
that's yeah, I would say suffice to say, Joe, you have not heard of that either.
No,
And Ernie, I don't think you've ever heard of Sabe either smoking cigarettes. I wanted to, since we're in the last 25 minutes here, I wanted to bring Ernie on because as you and I, Joe, talked about at the beginning of the interview, I told you about Ernie and I and about our goal to help bring these communities together to
yeah,
stop this separation of these groups and to make them all one and to bring this research and these ideas together. So Ernie and I have got extremely close. Ernie is very knowledgeable of these days, not of course Sasquatch, but he's gotten better about Dogman. So I just wanted to turn this over to you, Ernie. I had to give you a little love there.
Well, thanks a lot. Um, I'm going to go back on the original question there, like you asked Joe, because one of the tough things is if an eyewitness is going to speak about their encounter, like Joe has or anybody else here. Um, Me personally, I don't want to talk about too much. It'd be for another show. Too much about anything um, paranormal that might have happened afterwards, maybe a week, a year, or 10 years afterwards, because some people like to take that and maybe put that, what I call that back door, that option to back out and say, well, wait a minute now. This has happened and that's happened and that's happened. You got to be a little nuts. Well, got news for you. A lot of the people who do have encounters, they do have some things that are unexplainable afterwards, either in their dreams or just out of, we'll call it just out of sight. Could be their backyard, but they become more aware. It's like an awakening for the individuals. They become more aware of what's going on around them. Kind of like if you ever watched the magic shows there where they tried to fool the magicians. I don't remember the name, Penn and Teller, I think it was. And those guys would, sit there and watch somebody perform one of their tricks, and you had to fool them. All right. The more you know about something, the harder it is for something to fool you. And that's what we have here is once we've had an encounter, then we're more than likely to become more aware of it. It's the same thing happens in deer hunting. Till you've seen your first deer out there in the woods, uh, it's kind of hard. After you've seen your first deer out there in the woods, you start seeing more out there while you're hunting. Now you know what you're looking for. I don't know if that explains it to anybody. So, Joe, I would imagine you probably have had it, whether it was in your dream or whatever. I mean, you have a very unique situation that happened to you. Very unique.
Well, there is one thing I guess I could add besides the dreams. Yeah, I probably so, but I had a friend of mine a few years after my encounter talked to me about he had property and a cabin up in the UP, and he was talking to me about some weird stuff going on up there. And we didn't usually talk about stuff like that, and it's just like, well, it must be really concerning to him. And his dad would go up there too, and they both were concerned about things happening, weird sounds, things being moved and knocked around, and scratches, different things happening and he thought it was a Bigfoot. But from the research I have, this was a few years after my encounter, and I was learning things. I said that I didn't tell him what I thought it was, but I thought it was a Dogman. What he was telling me was going on, and he said, "You mind coming up there? I'd like to see if I can get eyes on it." And I said, like, yeah, he'll do steaks and things. I thought, well, yeah, I'll go up there. It'd be a good weekend up there. And I'm still apprehensive, though. You got to understand.
Sure.
But I wanted to help my friend because I am like scared to death of the woods at this point. With these things and thinking that this is what's really happening. I'm pretty scared and apprehensive, but I didn't let him know what I thought it was. And I
Understandable.
did, and I meet him up there on the weekend, and he's saying, I just want to try to get a picture, get a handle, so I'm not so scared up here. Maybe it's not what I think. Well, it turned out that the first night it wasn't anything happening, and but the second night we were there, we started getting scratches, and something was doing something on the roof and tapping on windows, all in different places, and I'm like, well, we just need to be quiet, and maybe if you can get a glimpse of anything, this is probably about 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. It's really dark up there, and it's up there. It's nothing but wilderness for thousands of acres of nothingness, and we're near Lake Superior. Lake Superior is like a half mile away, uh, and and the thing is he goes out there. He thinks it's a Bigfoot. I think I don't know what he was thinking. He still don't know what he was thinking, but he got his flashlight and his phone, and he went out there and he treed a Dogman. Is what he did, and I didn't see it because I wasn't going out there. And he come in. He was so he was just so white as a ghost, and I thought he was going to have a heart attack right in front of me, and um, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I have Benelli M4 pointing out the door, and I just it was just crazy, nuts, and that's why I was like, I was afraid of this, you know, and I don't know why he even did that the way he did it, but obviously he didn't get a picture. The thing jumped down. I heard it jump. I heard the thing jump, hit the ground. I heard it growl, and it was a growl like the biggest lion or mix of a lion and a bear or something. It was just really weird, and then that was it. It was gone, and he sold that property after that, and I know he's a person too. I don't. I wish I could get a hold of him, but I know he's a person that wouldn't even. He would absolutely not talk about it. He hardly talked about it with me, and I was there with him. You know,
Can you
unless
guys
it's
see what's up on the screen real quick?
Yeah.
So just to let everybody know, this is a amazing rendering of what Jenny Barger sent me for what Joe saw. So everybody, I'm really happy. At least tonight, my computer is at least working. If you can see the screen, you can see the semi next to it. That gives you a really good idea of the size
Yeah.
of
Yeah. That looks like a Sibylla drawing right there. It's beautiful.
it's no, I'm interested to see what she does for Joe. So very nice. I'm going to bring up some other ones. So please, you could just to let everybody know, I wanted to finish a question that I was trying to get the computer set up. Back to the connection, you know, I think it was Amber that had acted. Did either Joe or I feel like one of us went home and, you know, there was something that was connected with us? Um, I'm starting to think after everything that has occurred the past 8 months, um, that, you know, yes, there were decades that went since I saw my dog man, but I definitely have had experiences where I had I call them dreamscape and mind speak dreams, where I've seen the dog man as real as you or I, 5 feet from each other. And, you know, I've had quite a few people in the know actually reaching out recently and saying that they do not believe these are dreams and that this being has been trying to reach out to me, or it is connected to me in some form or fashion. Now, I don't have these a lot, but within the last 8 months, I've had two. So I don't know what's going on there, but you know, I just wanted to address Amber your question there. Ernie, I will turn it back over to you, sir.
Yeah. Just listening to Joe there talking about the encounter with his buddy there. I talked to only one other eyewitness in my life. Probably within 12 minutes of them encountering a Sasquatch. This was way before my encounter, and it's unmistakable. We've gone in as hunters to help the wardens bring people back out of an area that we used to hunt because it was so dense and, you know, the mountain laurel and everything. And I can tell you, nobody would have to tell me that the guy standing that I come across is the guy I'm looking for, that he's lost. It's unmistakable. They're whiter than a sheet. They're sweating. You can tell when somebody's that fear has hit them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I just had a question for Joe, kind of a question for Joe here. You know, um, first of all, do you? Let me find the words for this here. In driving a truck, tractor trailer, okay, I know you're hyper vigilant. You are completely aware of everything around you. You are constantly using your mirrors. Is that a correct statement?
oh yeah, you
Yeah,
use every senses you have as much as possible because it's too dangerous not to. And
correct. You're always keeping yourself in check on what you're doing and everything. It's like riding a motorcycle. People think they can just ride a motorcycle. You have to be able to have full control under
yeah,
any circumstance between your left hand, your right hand, your left foot, your right foot. You got your eyeballs looking in your mirrors. You got to know where your escape routes are and everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. And when you're 70 feet, 73 feet long and 80,000 pounds, that's even harder to
Right.
sometimes deal with. So
In your depth perception, when you're backing up to a loading dock or something, you got to know, is that 5
yeah,
feet away or is that 20 feet away?
right, right. Yeah,
Exactly.
you got a really good depth perception after you do this a
Mhm.
while, you know.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
got to tell you, I've heard some people, and I've heard your encounter before, but I've heard some people say, well, how can you tell the, how fast it was running? There's a lot going on. And Joe just answered that question for a lot of people. Is you have to be looking in every mirror that you have without flipping your head all over the place. You got to
Right.
know what's in front of you. You got to know what's alongside of you. Those mirrors are angled perfectly, and your
Right.
depth perception is right on. And even probably without even looking at your speedometer, the speed that you're at just by the sounds of the gear that you're in.
Yeah, exactly. I already know. I know I didn't look at my speedometer. I know that. But I can tell you, I couldn't go any faster than 30 than that situation. I was
That,
between 25 and 30. I know. That's
for
what I
the
was.
animal, that's fast. That
Yeah,
thing came up
yeah, but
to you
it
fast.
was effortless. It was effortless though for this thing to go to stay alongside of me like it was a stroll to him. You know,
What do you
I'm
think?
sure he could have went faster.
What do you
I
think?
know he could have went a lot faster. That's all.
There's a
What do you think?
great, guys, sorry to interrupt again. There is an amazing rendering of what Joe saw coming through the window there. Joe, I mean, is that as
So,
good? You mentioned the Van Helsing werewolf at the end, what Hugh Jackman's turned into. I've said as well that if you look at any movie, that's as close to what I saw, but not closest. This definitely is some similarities, but how did you feel right at this moment?
I'm not seeing anything on your screen, Matt.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No, we're not
Hold on.
seeing.
It is.
There you go.
Sharing now?
Yeah, you got it.
Good. I apologize. It said on my end it was. Joe, how did you feel at this moment?
well, when I saw that, I was taken back. I actually had to jump up and show Jenny right away. It was disturbing. You know, you know, I'm looking at something that is 95% correct, probably. You
Yep.
know, um, just yeah, looking at it now is it's kind of hard to stay looking at it for very long, you know, because
I feel the same way. I am going to stop sharing. There is a comment that we are going to touch on here. Hold on one sec, everybody. Where is it? Right here.
I don't know. Yes.
When Joe was outside of his truck before the encounter, did he hear any sounds or smell anything?
I didn't smell anything, but when I
Everybody
was outside
touches
the
on the
truck,
smell.
when I was outside the truck, I didn't smell anything, but I did hear odd sounds that were not natural. And when I didn't
Hmm.
hear anything, it was absolutely quiet, like in a vacuum or some
Mm.
kind of I don't know, an echo chamber even effect to some degree. It seemed like, you know, like when you talked about the veil a little bit, it almost seemed like I wasn't in phase with my reality. I think things were off. I, I felt wrong. Things just weren't feeling right for me. I knew something was really off, and there was the sounds I did hear. I heard like metal. I heard, which was weird. I heard, and I did see shadows back in the foliage back there, about 30 feet away, that were moving through, that were black, and I could tell it was her. And I was so beside myself with a feeling of unrest that I jumped in my truck right away. Even though it could have been a black bear, it was really unsettling for me. I got this feeling I'd never really had this kind of experience with the ambience, the complete silence. And when I did hear something, it's hard to explain, but it wasn't really like, I'm not saying this is what it was. It was just what I felt like it was. Like I had jumped out of phase from my reality a little bit.
That's interesting.
But I don't know. It could be just a perception of mine at the time, being so out of out of place, the way things were perceived and the perceptions of things. The just the sounds were like echoing even a little bit. Not even when you did hear something, it was echoing and then complete silence. But it was slight echoes
And unnatural.
and unnatural.
I've heard
So it's really hard to convey to somebody what it was like.
You know what, Joe, I before we get to the question, I saw your reaction and I could hear in your voice you're starting to get upset, and I saw the nervousness in your face. And I have immense anxiety in my chest thinking about what you went through, connecting to my experience. And again, I've had people, which blows my mind, and it has made me angry at times, but I've learned to just kind of laugh it off because if anybody went through you and I went through, and I've had, so I'll get to the gist of it real quick. I've had one guy said when he saw one of my experiences when I got upset physically and started shaking and sweating, and oh, big deal. The guy saw a dog man. Oh, geez, making fun of the fact that I was having issues with it. And now, instead of getting mad, I laugh because I would love whoever that individual was to sit and get about, let's see, 4 or 5 feet from where you were, between 5, 6 feet from where I was. Ernie, with you, with your Sabe experience, 2 feet, 1 feet,
okay.
and see how tough and how you react. I would love to see, that doesn't
Matt, I'm
wear.
going to interject here. I've never seen anything myself, but that makes me furious when I see comments like that. And I just think you'll have your day, one of these, and you're going to remember these comments when it happens.
I've
Anyway, I just had to say that because it really angers me.
I agree. It's insulting as hell.
Yes, it is. These are people that don't leave their apartments. So it's easy for them to say that kind of thing.
They're looking through their computer, and that's
Yep.
their experience.
Well, I've got something to share with Joe here. Okay, I've taken a few accounts, but one of the strangest things that was ever said to me, and I never really understood it, and this may help you, Joe, with this. Okay, was by a man by the name of Chief Ernest, and I won't get into the whole explanation. People that know my story have heard it before. I get down to I got the opportunity to sit down and talk with this man. Okay, he is the great grandson of, I don't know if it's Crazy Horse. I don't remember if it's Crazy Horse or Cinnamon, but in either case, he had a lot of questions for me. One of the questions was, Joe, did I notice anything in the things that were around me, like a time change? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying here to you, because that is exactly
Off
what
time.
explained to me. Like time had somehow changed. Like, I don't know if he was insinuating he didn't want to leave me, that I had stepped through a veil. Because I'll tell you this: if Joe, you've never heard this part of it before, but 2 times during my encounter, when that first Sasquatch spotted me, and I had deliberately gotten into its peripheral, it did a double take on me. It couldn't believe I was standing there, And maybe I did step through that veil. And when it pointed me out to the other one, that other one actually did the same exact thing, did a double take on me. So did I step through the veil? And that's what I'm saying to you. Is what you're describing happened to you, what you felt, you knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
Even if it was a bear in there, you would have been able to handle that in your mind, but there was something that was wrong in what was going on around you, like a rip in time or something. Okay, we can call it flu or whatever the case may be. Did we step through that, or were we actually part of that? Is it so big that it's like a geodome over a grocery store when you walk in? And Joe understands what a geodome is. And is it that large that it enveloped us or enveloped Joe when he walked through? And that's how they can come and go as they want. I know you're hyper vigilant. I know that you know the different things that were going on around you. I do have one question for you, Joe, because I know that you know the sound that truck makes that you're driving or any truck makes. You know, that it could be something going on with a tire or a chain or a hookup or something like that.
Oh yeah, you're aware of all these, every little thing that happens when you get real familiar with a certain truck. You know all of its little nuanced little things. Yeah.
Well, let me ask
Can
you
you guys see this real quick?
this. Can you describe can you put that noise, that sound that you heard, that metallic noise, is not the excuse me, everybody. It's not the first time I've heard that. I've heard that in the Martin Groves story also, a metallic sound. Can you compare that metallic sound to anything? It doesn't sound like it was, and I don't want to lead you into this, anything to do with your truck, because I think you would have identified that and you would have said it was my truck or it was another truck slamming a rear door. Did it sound like that to you at all?
No, it sounded like it sounded like if you ever been in a machine shop and you've heard stamping,
Yep.
like a stamping,
Yep.
like that, but not as loud as being right next to it, but kind of like that, but at a distance.
It's
So
ironic you bring that up. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Joe. It's ironic, and I'm leaving your Dogman up for a second. If you think to a lot of experiences, and I had to shut off to show you, you
Yeah.
think of many experiences. You think of Mr. Politis's Missing 411, The Hunted. If anyone saw that at the very end, they show those gentlemen that went hunting and the older gentleman disappeared and his partner who was in the car when they were driving deer. Ironically, Ernie, they were driving deer during this event too. His partner heard a metal sound, scraping, a trap going off in the middle of the woods. He said this was sound had no place in the middle
Right.
of the woods.
Right.
Martin Groves as well heard something extremely similar, almost like a car door or something. And then you're starting to put together, what Martin saw and some other people. There are
Mhm.
times when you're seeing these dogmen with these noises and sometimes seeing Sasquatch. Are they utilizing these entities as hunting dogs? And is that metal sound something that they're utilizing to control them? Maybe, like a dog whistle, or is that something the sound of maybe a portal opening? Both of your thoughts on that.
It could be. If you don't mind, Joe, I'll field this first because it's actually going to envelop into a question for you. Okay. I'd like to make one statement here. Is a lot of people say there are no experts out there. I'm sorry, Joe's an expert. Joe's an expert into what happened to him. Matt's an expert into what happened to him. Experts on that. Experts on every aspect of that. Now, this is the first time that I've actually been able to speak with somebody that has heard different noises of that nature from a machine shop or from a truck, even tapping your the back of the truck against a loading dock. None of those noises. Okay. And what I'm alluding to here is, and my question was going to be, any type of vibration, Joe, because what I'm leading into here is harmonics. Okay, something in on a frequency level, and you can achieve that on like a wind chime. Okay, almost like a wind chime, and you can achieve that rather than jump a conclusion that maybe somebody was off in the woods and they let this thing out of the back of their U-Haul truck, and it just didn't. It just happened. It just didn't like Joe's truck. But Joe is the expert in his encounter that nobody could ever take away, and so isn't Matt. And Joe's the first one that I've actually been able to talk to that can identify and eliminate sounds that were going on around him. Joe, I'm going to put it back in your field. Do you is any of this ringing a bell with you on can you
Yeah,
isolate it? Go for it.
yeah, yeah. I do believe that there was some kind of, as you were saying, harmonics may be involved with that too, because there internally, the energy internally was, I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't normal. Yeah, I was in my whole body, my ears, my perception. There's nothing around there that can make these kind of noises. And when they did happen, like these unnatural metallic this noise, and as this thing was moving around, which would have been about a minute after I heard the metallic sound, I heard and I saw these things going on in the foliage, with the black fur and the darkness
Mhm.
moving around probably about 40 feet away from me. And it looked big and black. And I was done with what I was doing under the trailer, and I was really feeling pretty upset at that point. I didn't know why, other than I didn't know why. It was um, I don't know how to explain that, but I am not ever like that. It never happens to me. I'm
Yeah.
usually real solid and down to earth and logical, and I was kind of turning into a mess for no reason. So
Right. Right.
that I could tell. So and I was like, what is? Well, as things progressed, it got even worse, and it gets worse. As I found out. Um, but yeah, you kind of nailed that with some kind of vibration. I don't know what that is either, but it was something that I did notice and experience on a different level than normal, and it was throughout my body. I don't even know if it was not even a tingling. It was more of a sensation that I don't comes from deep within. I don't know.
Do you think possibly it was did you hear the Dogman's uh, roar at any point? Because if you did, like I did with my friends, we
No.
believe. Okay, well, maybe it was still infrasound. You can have infrasound cause, uh, uh, you know, symptoms on you without actually hearing. And then also, kind of what Ernie was touching on, everything on planet Earth has a frequency. Things that are alive, things that are inanimate objects, a pen on the table, a rock, leaves, a human being, animals. Everything has a frequency. And if you match that frequency with some of these other beings, or maybe with the portal or that veil, you open things up in your world, so to speak. And then all of a sudden, bam, you are in the same area as these beings that normally wouldn't be where you are.
Yeah, that
Ernie?
sounds.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Joe? Were you gonna say something?
No, I just in agreement with that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Joe. Um, because I know that some things in PTSD set people off. Are you aware of, or are you cognizant of, I don't want to call it a flashback or anything like that. I don't know if you drive trucks still, but
Yeah, I do.
is there is there anything that has happened to you that has made we'll say your hair stand on end and maybe even break out in a little bit of a sweat, have that same feeling again and not knowing why? Because you can hear, um, if something happens to you, some people, and an ambulance is driving by, and then you hear a car accident, people screaming, and then a light is flickering in your house. If you have two of those things, we'll say, happen to you, you automatically, in the future, you automatically start having something like that, like a PTSD, like an episode. Okay. So I'm just curious if at any time since this has happened to you, have you had a funny feeling or actually the queasy feeling or internal, any type of thing, like your hair standing on end? And could you, thinking back on it, relate that maybe to you might have been around something, something that might have been like a transformer humming or something like that to give you a piece of one of those three things?
Well, as I had mentioned before with my coworker that I worked with, another truck driver that I went up to his place. It was some. I knew it when I got there. I could tell it was that kind of vibe going on with me. And I I don't know how to explain it, but I was getting that same kind of thing again when I was parked overnight in the middle of nowhere, Georgia, at a factory that looked. I mean, it just looked so. I don't know. It looks like a lot of places, but to me, it looked like bad news. It was a manufacturing recycling place, and it was like in the 50 miles from anywhere. It was weird, and I'm in the woods, and I'm there overnight waiting to deliver in the morning.
I remember talking to you that night.
Some kind of equipment. Yeah, Jenny remembers talking to me about it. I just knew there was something there around there. I never experienced anything, but I just
Our Canadian paranormal world, I'm sorry, Joe, made a really good comment. Our government, and it makes you think, I've never heard this one said before. Our government has hidden stations all over the country. Could these sounds be containment units or government ships releasing some of these things? Possibly. I know a lot of them are underground drilling. A lot of people aren't realizing
yeah.
that is going on.
Well, I believe that's going on, but here's another thing that I do know that happened when I looked at. I think Jenny looked at some of the comments after I I was on I don't know what lurks beneath or somewhere a
Mm-hmm.
long time ago, and he is from that area. This guy that made a comment, and he said when he was scouting out places to hunt in that forest, he come to this clearing that had what two or three like elephant-sized cages
I
that
just
were.
put that up for you, Joe. Your wife had mentioned that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
Go ahead. Finish
that's
that.
one.
Finish it, Joe.
Yeah, this guy that lives in the area commented about that, and he was saying that they were the size you could put an elephant in it, and they must have been airlifted in there or whatever technology they have.
UAPs.
Yeah, these UAPs, that I know are ours. I've seen those too.
We just saw one the other night.
Yeah, well, Jenny saw it. I
I
didn't.
had to talk to Patterson. I saw one.
Yeah, we're by Wright Patterson anyway in Ohio. So,
Ironic. I
yeah.
mean, first of all, that's where they brought
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
original, UFO that was supposedly crashed in not, I believe it, in Roswell, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Also has, according to government people that have been retiring for decades, the single largest underground facility in the world, most technologically advanced. And again, not only where they're keeping alien technology, reverse engineering things, but also working with supposedly other life forms. So
Yeah,
that's
we were in Jackson, Ohio, which is not far from, West Virginia, really.
Well, what was crazy is we stopped at a truck stop and we were just getting out of the truck. And I was looking up at the stars and I saw uh it I thought I saw like a glint of something. And I'm just looking at the Little Dipper and I'm not kidding, it was like a boomerang shape, but it was like Wonder Woman's plane where it was like translucent. But it blocked, like you couldn't see the stars through it, but it blocked out the stars when it went past the Dipper. It was low. It was not, and it was perfectly silent, and it was just zooming right along. And it went by so fast. I was trying to get Joe's attention, and he's like, "What?" And then it was gone. But I saw it twice, glint through twice, and so I was able to get a gauge for. And I was like, I knew that wasn't a UFO, that was UAP, And it was. I said, "What's that direction?" And he said, "Right, Patterson."
It was going that
Thank
way.
you for bringing that up. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, it was going that way, but I've seen those before. Twice. I've seen one near Dayton, which is kind of where that's at, right? And I've seen one in New York State. And the same thing. There are those black triangle things,
This one was
TR3B. TR3B.
Yeah.
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 And then we
Definitely
saw
are.
one New Year's Eve night. Remember, it was like an iridescent cloud, and it was pulsating, and when it would like pulse, you could see these three white lights in the shape of a triangle behind it. That was New Year's Eve 2023 at about 4 a.m. And leading up to that, as we were pulling in, we were up north in Reed City. As we were pulling the driveway, there was an owl right on the branch entering the driveway, just staring at us. And then the next day, it was on the branch outside the window staring at us.
Yeah.
It was just weird. The whole thing was weird.
What was it, Denny?
An owl.
An owl.
Wow.
We saw
a real big one too.
Yeah, we saw this pulsating cloud, but we saw the owl driving into the drive. And then the next day too.
People talk about when they hear a lot of experiences or people that are abducted at night, they always mention, not always, but a lot of times will also mention owls. They'll say, or the being had an owl. Like, look, it makes you think, well, are they, doing almost like a skinwalker type thing, or are they turning into an owl?
We saw
the possibilities.
Remember the one that looked like Cousin It? There was one, we were on our way to go record with Tony. And it ended up, we got hit by a snowstorm and couldn't do it. But on the way, right on the edge of the road, we saw this thing on the side of the road. We didn't know what it was. It looked like Cousin It from the back. Right? And it was right on the edge of the road, like it was going to get hit. It whipped its head around and looked at us. And we were like, oh my God.
It looked like Cousin It.
It was huge.
Except when it turned its head, then it was an owl. It was, wow. It was right on. I almost hit it.
It didn't
even move.
It was weird. And then we weren't able to go because we got hit by this huge snowstorm. And believe it or not, our delivery was at Oak Ridge Lab. So we had to spend the night at Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge, where there's those particle accelerator things.
There's all kinds of
going on.
Dogman stories there.
They have the colliders.
Yep.
So that was a weird trip.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things.
Did your encounter happen here in Ohio?
No, in Michigan, in the Manistee National Forest.
Okay, gotcha. Am I wrong? Am I assuming that Wright-Patterson is or was a SAC base? I don't know if you understand what that is. Strategic Air Command.
Yeah.
Is Wright-Patterson a SAC base?
I think it is.
I believe
I'm
it
not.
is.
I at least as far as I knew back in the day, I haven't kept up with it. I'm not in the military. I've been in for many years, but I think it was at one point because I if I remember right, I think it was. So
Mm-hmm.
mm, I I do know I see when you drive by there, you do see bombers. You know, I see.
Right.
I've seen bombers flying around there. So
Right. The SAC bases are actually part of the nuclear
yeah,
program on the I don't say the lowest form because I think it's within 150 miles of a SAC bases where they would have a launch facility. And I was just wondering if you've driven a lot around that area. I was
oh
wondering if
yeah.
an encounter happened in there, or if you're aware of any bases up around that might be even close by to where you, within, let's say, 100 miles of where you had your encounter.
Within 100 miles that I'm aware of, no. The
Okay.
It would be the closest one I would know of in Michigan would be Wordsmith, and I think
Uh-huh.
that's near Oscoda, and that's on the other side of the state. I don't even know if they're still operating anymore.
Okay.
Um, so I don't think that I'm aware of. There is a, not close anyway. Maybe I don't know if the Army National Guard up in the in the Gaylord area might be closer than 150 miles. Haven't checked that out. I don't know.
I know
Susie had actually
something.
made a comment real quick. She had said she knew that there was a Air Force base in the Youngstown area. I wrote it in the chat, but just to let everybody know, the Youngstown Air Base, and it's the Youngstown Vienna Air Base in Ravenna, Ohio. Is that Youngstown, Ohio area Air Force Base, and
Yeah.
there's been some high strangeness in that area as well. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. Well, I have been through your neck of the woods in Ravenna and
Mhm.
that area I go through there quite a bit. And, when I deliver out of Michigan into, out east there, and, I've seen some stuff driving out that way on those routes that I don't know. I catch, on the edge of my lights and stuff sometimes that I don't know what I'm seeing. It could be whatever, but it does seem like that out in that area, I see some things that I don't normally see on a regular basis. That it's just
Mhm.
out of my range of really knowing what's going on. But
Was it when you've seen some things, and again, it could be the TR3B. The TR3B, if anybody doesn't know, is the black triangle that if a lot of people are utilizing infrared goggles, they can see these things. They move unlike any other craft. If you take the goggles away, you can't see it. They also at times will change different colors. Joe, just to ask about what you saw, because I saw three times since I would say probably about 5, 6 years ago. And I ran in the house. Thank you, Stacy. I ran in the house to get Stacy in a mirror about 3, 4 years ago. Was sitting outside on top of our hot tub. It has a hard top lid. And it was dusk, a that cigar shaped
yeah,
cylinder shaped something in the sky. It was not a plane. It was not blinking. It was close enough I could see the shape, and the sun was down enough that it wasn't reflecting off of anything. And this thing was I don't know, I'd say every 10 to 15 seconds changing color. So it would go from a bluish color to a yellow to a red to a green, not fast, like I said, 10, 15 seconds, and slowly changing. And it just went just real slow across the sky. I went crazy. I ran in the house and I actually ran into the wall. I was so excited. And I grabbed Stacy and Amira, and they came and they're like, uh-huh. They came out and they're looking and they're like, okay, well, that does look kind of strange. We'll admit, but I agree with you, Joe. There's something strange. This is the last thing I'll say. I'll turn it back over to you guys. My Aunt Shirley Caparanis, um, my dad's sister, actually my very last aunt or uncle, my uncle, her husband, my uncle John Caparanis, actually passed away a few months ago. And she told me a story that they were in the Cortland, Vienna area, and they were younger and they were parking, which us older people know what parking is. And they had pulled off the a street and they were by one of those style, the gas things, it goes up and down and up and down if it's oil or gas. And she said there was a tree and they had backed the car in and they were talking. And my aunt said she was facing the back of the car, so the back windshield. That as they were kissing, and she glanced out of the back, and she said they had noticed beforehand a light just beyond the tree, and they noticed it and then just kind of ignored it. Well, when she had opened her eyes and looked, she said there was no. This is my aunt telling you guys. There's 73 of you in there. Thank you for being here. My aunt's not going to make up a story like this. She's one of
Right.
those people. It's that generation too. Why would she make it up?
I know my grandmother. My grandmother also saw a goat man twice. I don't know.
Oh
She wouldn't
wow,
make
we have
that up.
to that one. Hold on.
Yeah.
And this thing she said was floating towards their car. She said the feet were not touching the ground. She said I didn't even see feet. And she said it was some type of very tall, uh, grayish colored being, but she said it was very long and tall, wearing some type of metal kind of contraption, and it had, I don't remember right or left, but one of its arms out, and it had its arm out as if it was coming to get touch the car or whatever. And she said she just screamed at my Uncle John, and he didn't even get a chance to look. He just screamed, "Go, go, go!" And he jumped over the front seat and put it in drive. And he said as he was pulling away, he looked in the rearview mirror and he saw some type of strange being that had turned around, and as it was turning around was looking at the car. And he said he kind of watched it. He didn't see feet, he didn't really watch enough, but my aunt said she watched, and it had no feet touching the ground and just glided, and then just past this tree and just past this pump, this gas or oil pump, whatever it was pumping, was a ship, a silver, old style disc UFO that was on the ground, and they said it looked like it had a tripod kind of, things coming out of the bottom, and that this being was headed towards the craft. And he said after that they were far gone and they didn't see it take off. Um, but that's also near the Ravenna Air Force Base in Youngstown, Ohio. Now back to you, Joe. Two goat men. Where was
Yeah.
this at?
Well, this is something my grandmother had relayed to. This is secondhand. It's nothing that she told me, but she died actually when I was I was pretty young, 2 or 3 years old. I didn't really know her, but this is relayed through family. I just thought it was like some, I don't know. I didn't really pay a lot of attention to people and cousins and family that would talk like that. I wasn't into this stuff, I was like, okay, whatever, that's cool, like, good story. You know, I wasn't into this stuff, or didn't really did I didn't even know if I believed it or not. Was just not. I was more indifferent about it than anything. It was just not anything important. I thought it was interesting, but I don't
What I
know.
mean, what was the exact? You didn't get any like real specifics, like deep specifics.
Well, what I was told by a couple of different cousins is, I guess some of them were into some of this paranormal stuff, and I got
Mm-hmm.
talking to them, years back and things, and and I'd get in on the conversation. It was kind of in passing more than anything, but I thought it was interesting to hear it more than one time about my grandmother. Thinking back on it, I didn't think of anything of it back then, but after my encounter, then I started hearing about Goat Man and things like that. And I'm thinking of all kinds of stuff that in the past that I really didn't think twice about until that.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that she had seen him out in the yard a couple of times, and that it was definitely looked like a goat on two legs with hooves. And I guess my grandfather even saw the tracks in the yard when he'd go out to look. And there was and bipedal hoofed cloven feet, like big too, not little, just they're big. And I don't know, I guess there was pictures or something at the time. This is all in passing, but it's still another thing that I know in my family, they stuff like that doesn't get, you know, regurgitated for no reason. Something must have happened to my grandmother with the goat man, and,
That's
my grandfather would be involved in that too. Um, he lived longer. I knew my grandfather, but he never talked to me about it. So I don't know. I don't. That's all I can say is that something must have happened there, and that was up in. It was near Alpena, Michigan, is where that would have been.
Really?
So
wild. Well, Sugi has and thank you, Joe, for that.
yeah.
Sugi has a comment. My husband and I saw a large dead animal along Highway 11 North. I know exactly. Sugi, you are in my area. We'll have to discuss things. 11 north of Youngstown near Jefferson. That's near the Warren, Ohio area. It was the size of a cow, brown and tall, pointed ears. Next day, my sister saw it being tarped and loaded. And I'm going to go down because her next comment is right here. And she said, there were two cop cars, an ambulance, and a flatbed trailer truck. She said they were really struggling to load the thing up. That's interesting. I mean, that first of all, the size of a cow. I mean, but pointed ears. Um, I mean, I can't think of I'd love to know if this was a bipedal type creature or Sugi, do you have any more information of, maybe if this thing gave the idea of maybe it walked on two legs or was it an animal with just down on all fours? I mean, what are your thoughts, guys, on that one? Ernie, I'll ask you.
On that statement there, on the comments there,
Yeah.
well, it's hard to say. She knows what she's seen. Um, again, it's the witness. They're an expert on what they've seen. The information they have, obviously, they have more information. I mean, why would they call an ambulance for a cow? I've never seen that. You might call a farmer to pull it out of the ditch or whatever, but not an ambulance. Maybe some cops because somebody hit a cow, but you wouldn't be calling an ambulance. And if somebody hit the cow, then maybe an ambulance would be there, but then you'd see the truck trying to pull the car out of the ditch and all of those things. You would have seen an ambulance pass you or heard it coming, going to the scene. There would have been something to tip you off that there was something else involved. But since you didn't see that, and I don't know the rest of the story here, I'd have to say it is a very intriguing story.
Hmm.
But I have another question here for Joe here, because we are the experts in our own experiences, and this man's an expert in what happened to him. I know that when you were, and I'm going to assume that you were on the left-hand side of your truck, you were able to get into your cab of your truck. I don't know if you're halfway down, but when you were saying that you were aware of something else moving in the brush line here, I'd like to hear your opinion, Joe, that this thing, I'm going to call it a thing, okay, because it's going to encompass a lot of things that are out there. Obviously, it gave you the impression there was more than one of them. Is that correct? There was more than one of them, and this thing came up on the right-hand side of your truck.
Well, I did have that impression. I didn't see any more than one, but
Right,
especially after I came back around and those handlers were there,
right,
and they said they said there was a couple of bears wrestling around here, and all
yeah.
that commotion in the weeds, and I'm like, and I asked them, oh, so there was two of them, and so it confirmed that there was more than one there, and
Boy,
so I think that one might have been a distraction, and the other one was trying to snag me or something.
yeah, because there are reports
Yeah.
of a lot of missing truckers.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you're
I've
aware of
read
that too. Um,
plenty of
um,
those.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you can get into what you were hauling it, Dave. It was all that important, but there was
What
definitely,
else is going to be strong enough to move that dog, man? If you did kill it, Joe, and it
Yeah.
stayed down, and what two
Well,
human men are not going to move that?
they made me fully aware that I killed it. So
Mhm.
later on. So yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't have said that if that didn't happen. And
Right.
I'm sure the way they acted didn't like it one bit that they didn't have it anymore.
because where you're coming from, and I understand it, and it's just it's in your memory, it's in your statements that obviously there was one on the other side of your truck, quite obviously, and there
Yeah.
was one on the same side of the truck as yours because that would not have taken the long route around. That would have tried if the one on your side of the truck would have stayed there. If it was me, I'm going to put it to you that way. If it was me, I had eyes on you. I'm on the same side of the truck as you. I'm not running down the other end of that tractor trailer and going around it and try to come up alongside of you as you're pulling away. I would have tried to grab you out of your cab right there. So quite obviously, there had to have been more than one. So your spidey senses were telling you the truth that you seen in your peripheral that there was more than one there, and it was
Yeah.
for a lack of a better term, it sounded almost like an ambush. It didn't matter
Yeah.
where you were going to go.
Well, I do know that they use tactics and they are very intelligent. I saw into the eyes directly in the eyes of this thing, and it was not an animal, not in the eyes. You could tell this thing was thinking and very intelligent, but menacing at the same time.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
We have that.
Definitely
I
thought
hear that a
going
lot.
on.
And I hear that
yeah.
a lot in the scientific community
Hmm.
on how can you measure intelligence? You have to have a hypothesis first, and you have to do that 2 times before you can have a theory with that. Now, you like again, you're the expert in what happened to you, and you've seen a level of intelligence to that, okay? And I've had those reports taken in the Sasquatch reports also, and it's always been thrown back that well, you can't measure intelligence. So here's the hypothesis: that intelligence that was exhibited to me was sign language. Okay, and it wasn't done once; it wasn't done twice. There you have your 2 times to go to your theory. It wasn't done 3 times or 4. It was done 5 times, and then communication with another one, and then my communication back to this one here. So therefore, we go from a hypothesis to a theory, a legitimate theory that a lot of people don't want to hear. Now, when you're saying that you're seeing a level of intelligence, we can see a level of intelligence, some type of intelligence,
Oh
some
yeah.
type in a dog. You can see it in a chicken. You know,
Yeah.
there is
Dog.
something
Sure.
there. You can see it in anything. So I'm just going to tell you right now that I think that, I don't want to flip anybody out and I want to put you into a bad mindset here, but it sounds to me like, you were on the buffet table, buddy.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, almost everybody says that, and I believe that too. And they think the same thing. Believe there was more than one, and that this was the case. But there is another reason why I think I might have thrown them off off a little bit because
Hmm.
when I pulled over, the place I had to pull over in I was heading east, and I had to. There was no place to pull off, so the pull off that I could is on the north side of the road. So I made a U-turn in there.
Do you normally pull over in that area?
No,
Do you
no.
do you
There's nowhere to pull
radio
off.
pulling over? Do you radio anybody? Were you talking to anybody?
No, no.
Good
I'm
enough.
just doing my own thing,
Right.
and I would have if I needed service to come out and repair something, but I needed to repair an air leak I had that was slow, but that's what I was doing. Is I
Boy,
was
that would have been an experience if you had the Dogman laying there and the truck was damaged and you had to call service. Ah, well,
Yeah,
don't pay attention to
right.
that.
Is
But
that
I don't like to call service because I will be there too long, and I don't want to be
right?
getting home at midnight. So
Is
I,
that a
I
spot that some truckers pull over near?
yeah, well, what that is, I believe, is a snowplow turnaround.
Thank you.
That's what I think that is, and it's big enough for me to get in there.
And then don't they make those for a truck whose brakes are having problem as well? It goes up so that you can slow down.
That's not quite like that. It's more like a spot where a big truck that needs to turn around, like a bigger snowplow. It's just enough big enough for that, or big enough for a semi to get in there off the road good, and be safe.
Okay.
But there's no other place along that whole until you get to the interstate. There's nowhere to pull off. You know,
Gotcha.
so
Gotcha. Perfect
that's
spot.
why I pulled off there. Yeah,
Yeah, perfect spot for somebody just to sit if they wanted to. Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Sonia Vasallo mentions here in one of the missing books of the Bible, Jasher 36:32 talks about a bear man taking away some donkeys. You also, I just want anyone that's not aware, you go all the way back with Dogman. You can go back to St. Christopher and some mentions in the Bible about the Cenocephaly, island of the dog-headed men. You can look that up on Google. But bear man grab me because you go to again the missing 411, David Politis, and all of the incredible research he does. He talks about a little boy that had disappeared. I don't remember what national park it was because you know how many people are disappearing in national
Yeah.
parks. A little boy was gone for either 24 or 48 hours, and they walk up on a trail. People are looking for him. I believe one of the well trained rangers had a dog. They walked by the area and he stopped, came back after a while, went back the other way. The dog sees the boy standing right on the trail a couple minutes later. Later, they're talking to the little boy, and what does the little boy, where have you been? One of the things he mentions is the bear man protected me. There were strange animals, or there were animals in the woods, and they kept peeking around the tree, and they were staring at me, but the bear man wouldn't let them hurt me. Very,
I remember
interesting.
that.
If you watch some of
Yeah.
the thing 411, you will see it. I know JC and Andrew have heard that one. Anyone else who has watched Missing 411, I guarantee some of you have heard, the Bear Man story.
Yeah.
Sunny Cat 85 says, if Dogman had a pack, I bet they. Oh, I can't say that. And they blanked themselves when you smoked one of them. Yeah, I bet if there was another one in the woods, I would say it was not. It
I've,
was
I've
not comfortable.
I've thought about that a lot, and I probably thought, oh, we effed up right here. You know, I'm pretty sure and the handlers are like, I'm just trying to think of how that went down, and I can just
Mhm.
imagine another one that was there, just thinking, how did he do that? How'd that happen?
Yep.
Well, it
I
must
don't know.
get into the woods like you had spoke about, Joe. You and I spoke about it. You've said it to other people, but it makes me think. Hey, Rye, how are you, buddy? Ernie and Joe Rye Voss from Codex of Curiosity just
Hey,
stopped
Ron.
in. He's here with his family. Hello to your family. I agree, Joe. Makes you think. I mean, I think obviously, again, one of them or a couple pulled it in, but it makes you think, was it, were they watching, as Ernie had alluded to, were they testing it to watch, you were the test, or was this thing, equipped with some type of sensor, different sensors, connected to its vitals or something to let
Yeah.
them know when its
Well,
heart stopped? Were they
yeah,
aware that way?
I've heard that from pretty well aware people that are versed in, that end of things with the military, and they say they're absolutely chipped,
Mm-hmm.
and they are monitoring them.
They have to be.
Yeah, and it was obvious after I found out what was going on. I didn't know. Yeah, at the time I didn't understand what even happened, but after the fact, it's pretty obvious that that's what that was handlers that were
Mhm.
there right Johnny on the spot. It was like within 3 or 4 minutes, I was
I was
right
gonna
back
ask you
there.
that, Joe. That's too quick.
Yeah,
That's
it
way
was,
too quick. 4 minutes, and you were after this.
They were there for a reason.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was yeah, absolutely. Doesn't matter what reason they were there for. They
yeah,
turned their, we can have a canine unit. I'm sure that some of the people involved in anything like that are going to call their dog an asset. Okay.
yeah, right,
Whatever they were doing there, they have the capability to monitor anybody, your phone calls, anything that's going on, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
I'm assuming that you were by yourself. You were driving by
like,
yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was by myself.
Yeah.
I just recently started, having Jenny come with me because
Yep.
it's just right now it's a good thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I was by myself.
Well, it only took you about 2 minutes or 3 minutes to turn that truck around and get back down there.
Yeah, yeah,
Some people, I'm just gonna share something with you, is some people have asked me just about every time it pops up when I say that I had a full intentions of following these things because I was inquisitive. Okay. Well, if I can put it into context for Joe here, if you don't mind, Joe, I think Joe turned his truck around because he was inquisitive, because he knows what happened. He knows what he did. He
Yeah.
fired a round off, and he's being responsible on,
yeah,
on going back and checking. And these guys were already there, because I've heard people say, come on now. He turned his truck around after that happened. You have to understand the frame of mind that's going on to begin with, and everything that's going down. Kudos to you, Joe. I mean, driving on the road, you have to have your senses about you. It's a job that I looked at a long time ago. My friends drove truck, and they asked me, why don't you drive truck? And I said, no, because I'd run somebody over. I definitely would.
it's not for everybody. I tell you. Tell
Yeah,
you what, it's a lot harder than people think it is.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And I can understand that. I mean, I ride motorcycle, and you've got to have your wits about you. And in a tractor trailer, let me tell you, I couldn't do that. I would not. I would definitely be running somebody over.
yeah,
I've had enough close encounters on a bike, never mind in a tractor trailer. But turning it around, I can understand that you went back. You wanted to see. You got to check. And they're
exactly.
on the scene.
Yeah, I had 2 bullets. I'd fired 2, and I even opened my cylinder to make sure I did that. My ears are ringing. I know I did it.
Sure.
I want to make sure I'm not crazy, and if I'm not crazy, I want to run this thing over with the truck. That's kind of what was going through my head, because I can't let this thing stay alive if it's sitting there
Right.
wounded. Not that I care that it's wounded because it's a monster,
Right.
but it's more like I don't want it to hurt anybody.
Right. You needed even more information on that.
Yeah,
You needed to
yeah,
see for yourself.
yeah.
When you fire a gun off.
Oh
That's
yeah,
not, you're not hallucinating. You
yeah.
can smell the gunpowder. You can hear the fuse ring.
I opened it up, saw two primers dented, and my ears are ringing. I can't hear anything.
I hope
I
you saved them two little babies.
yeah.
Still got them casings.
Yeah. Oh, I got them. Yeah. I still got that. That gun is still loaded with the same. It'll never be loaded with anything different than that.
You need to put that on the chain around your neck.
Oh yeah.
I'd have to agree with you 100%. Is that they and I've heard in the Dave Gross story the clicking too, and I've heard it in other stories too, and I know that in handling canine, dog trainers, they used it in World War II to communicate back and forth. They called it the cricket. The military did, the airborne rangers, and those are some of the sounds that were reported to me that I remember them telling me is they heard a clicking noise, and that would be a control thing. Any type of like a low frequency that only they could hear would also be,
Yeah.
very extremely interesting. Yeah, I would be, if I was you, I would always be taking somebody with me. Fortunately, she wasn't with you that day because it was, the way I understand it, it was reaching in your side window there.
Oh yeah. I was trying to open my door too.
Yeah.
There was scratches on my door from the claws. Trying to get at it, and there was
that was on the other side of the passenger
the
side.
passenger side. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that happened so fast that this other one that was probably, like I mentioned before, I made this U-turn to get in there, right?
Yeah.
So they probably had their communication and their stations set up to how this was all going to go down, because they probably didn't realize I was going to make another U-turn and continue to go the same way I was going. I probably flipped it on and flipped the script on them,
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, now I guess we got to do this different, or they just got confused. I don't know.
Well, let me jump in there and measure the level of intelligence there for everybody that's listening right now. Okay, a dog can't open a door.
Right.
Try to open the door unless you train it to open a door.
Oh, I saw the hands came in the window.
Exactly. So it has to have a level of intelligence to even be able to even think of opening that door, particularly on a moving truck. It's reaching for it. So that there tells me that it had a level of intelligence.
Oh yeah.
I agree, Mike. I agree, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike says if you don't believe these gentlemen, you're the stupid one. I'm not trying to be rude or anything to anyone, but I do have to say, after what we have been through, Mr. Barger and Ernie, yeah. I mean,
I expect it. I expect it, really, and I'm not trying to convince anybody. You don't have to. Good on you for not believing us. I don't really care.
I'm glad you think that way, because there's a lot of people out there who will become copycats, mirrors, or want to try to make you look bad.
Yeah.
In any circumstances.
Yeah. Well, I don't.
He said the same
nothing's
thing.
going to make me look bad. I know what happened. You guys know what happened.
Right. Exactly. And I've always go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. I just think that I do understand it to some extent, because if you would have told me this before this happened to me, I'd have a hard time believing it too.
Sure.
I mean, so I get it a little bit, but if you don't want to believe it, that's up to you. But you don't have to try to make somebody feel like, oh, I don't believe it, or you don't have to believe it, but you don't have to, make somebody feel bad, or just make, comments that are derogatory. If you don't believe it, you don't. I get it. I know why you wouldn't. I know. I understand.
Well, part of it, Joe, is that people here, there's multiple reasons here. First and foremost, every video from number one till now, I always say it's up to all of you that watch any of the videos that are on my channel or anybody else's to decide for yourself. I here at Planet 412 will never try to force anyone to believe me. It's up to you to believe it. Um, I would like to think, especially the three men you see on your camera here, are exceptionally different than the majority of the people out there. I'm not saying that others are not. Some are, in my opinion, I say this, we have experiences, I believe. If you know me, you know what I'm saying. There are a lot of stories out there. Some are cringeworthy, I call them. The three here are, in my opinion, three of the real ones. And sometimes you get people that are just resentful. They wish that they had an experience. They wish that something went down. Let me tell you something. What
I wish
happened to
that
me,
if they
what
don't
happened,
believe it, if they
Joe?
don't believe it, I wish they would.
Well,
But
you're
I
right.
mean, you know what
But I
I'm
have to
saying?
say, the one that you and I had, Joe,
Yeah,
they don't want to have them.
I
Ernie's a
know
little
they don't. They don't. That's just being facetious. But
right, of course.
yeah, I don't think nobody needs to have an encounter like this. It's
Not
awful.
pleasant. Yeah, it was not pleasant. We're getting to the end here, but I just wanted to, finish up with that. You guys, it's up to you to decide what you believe, and these channels are for entertainment. But sometimes you run into a group of guys, like right now, these three fine gentlemen up there. Definitely the two. I don't know about me, but they are amazing. I appreciate everything that they do and have done tonight. I wanted to real quick uh, thank our mods tonight. My wife Stacy, um, Drew, Andrew, Christy, our resident soft squatchers are here. JC is here. Please go check out Sasquatchers Paranormal Podcast. We'll throw up there Rye from Codega's Codex of Curiosity, Curiosities is here as well. So please go and check them out. And on Tuesdays we have our supernatural town hall session where it's Planet 412, Codegas, Sasquatchers. So come check us out on Tuesdays. Um, Before I say the rest of it, I just wanted to thank Joe and Jenny for coming here. I'm sorry, Jenny, that she didn't feel good tonight. We'll
Yeah,
make it up, I promise.
she just got a headache tonight that got real bad. So that's sure she would have been on. But
She's
yeah,
sleeping right now.
maybe next time. Yeah, I think she's laid down.
Get her up. I feel bad. She's really good at it, and your friend Allison
Yeah,
has.
she's the one that can really go on about this way better than I can. She
She's
knows more
very
than I do.
impressive. Yeah.
She knows way more than I do, and I've learned a lot. But she's been doing this a lot longer than me too. And at least 20 years she's been uh, researching this kind of thing. So she knows a lot. I wish it'll be another time. It'll be better when she feels
Well,
good.
yeah, for sure. This
Yeah.
wasn't the only time. Is there anything coming up for you, Joe? Anything that you wanted to say to anybody, or
Uh,
any interviews coming up, or
uh, I think there's one. There's Duke from. He's from um, Sasquatch Central. He wants me to. I don't know if you know who that is. I didn't know who he was, but I guess he's been on a long time, and he's
okay,
pretty well known as a respected researcher for like 40 years. And that's coming up next Friday, I think. He's gonna, and I don't know when it's gonna go on, but I talked to him, and he sounds like he knows a lot about this stuff from talking to him. And I told him I'd come on and do I don't think it's alive. I think he's just going to record it, put it on.
Hey, you know
So
what? Anytime, Joe, that I mean, I'm not telling you anything. You've been doing interviews before I did. Anytime you can do these, it will help people,
yeah,
learn about them. And not only that, as you've learned, as I've learned, us talking about this live or recorded videos has really helped others to, decide instead of taking it to the grave with them they're going to discuss it. Ernie, you sure as heck know about that with some of the guests that you've been interviewing for me for our dual interviews coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
well, there is something that maybe I could mention too. I don't know if you know, I there is a episode that coming up on television that I'm in the fall.
Okay, go ahead.
That's it would be Josh Gates' channel on Discovery Channel. What's um is it
Right?
it's Expedition X. Expedition X.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Wow, that's big time, Mr. Barger.
yeah.
Congratulations,
We
sir.
did that last month. Yeah, and we did it
Wow.
right on the location where it happened.
I love Josh Gates, one of the funniest guys on his. I've been watching him since he was a young man. So congratulations. We are really gonna, be watching for that. Wow, everybody make sure in a month or two you check out Discovery Plus. That's when Expedition X is showing.
I think it's the fall, Matt, is what they told me.
The fall,
In the
okay.
fall.
Well, the fall Expedition X, we'll have Joe and Jenny on again. They'll let us know when they know for sure the date. I'll throw it up on Planet 412 and let you all know. Congratulations. And again, thank you, Joe. Thank you,
Yeah,
Jenny. We appreciate you.
Night,
And
everybody.
yeah,
oh,
Jenny just came back.
did
Good
So
you
night,
want to pop
everybody.
up,
good
Yeah.
night.
Jen? No,
She
she
said
doesn't
good
want to
night.
pop up. Good night. Good night, Mrs. Barger. And Joseph, if you would do me a favor, if you would hang out in the green room, I will be in there
Yeah,
after we say goodbye. Thanks again, the two of you. Ernie, stay right where you are. Everybody, again, that was Joe Barger and his wife Jenny. We feel bad that she's had a headache. Mr. Davio, somebody that again is going to be, more and more regular on Planet 412. Anyone that doesn't know, Ernie and I are very, very close friends. I don't even like using friends anymore. I just say family. His wife Lois and their dog Tilly are a part of the M clan, and you and I have been working on a dual interview coming up. It's a part two that's a long time in the coming to
Oh,
the interview that I did for you.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So Ernie, just to let everybody know, Ernie, on top of me doing that second interview that I allude to on our first interview, we have a number of people that corroborate Ernie's experience, and Ernie himself will be interviewing some people. Ernie, do you have anything coming up yourself?
Let me see. No, just work. Just work
Well,
tomorrow for me.
other than work, you do have stuff coming up. You're going to
I,
be
I am working on a little something right now, but it's still in the infancy stages. You know.
Well, we are working on things, and you will be on the 412 as well, more
Yeah.
regular. Well, I wanted to thank you, Ernie, for coming on and helping out and speaking with Joe. If you'd hang out, I will be in the green room in a minute. And good night, sir. And then to all of my extended family, I just wanted to let everybody, we went over a little bit tonight. Make sure that you head over to Sasquatchers, Codegas, and subscribe to them. I would appreciate, guys, like I said, all of the proceeds from all of my videos are going to um, buying equipment. I really honestly, I spoke to some people today, and one is a TV producer who has a big channel here on YouTube, and he said, if you need help with your equipment, which I need a microphone and a computer because mine's about to die, ask your family, your subscribers, which I don't like saying my subs, you guys are my extended family. I could use your help. So do me a favor, subscribe, like, and smash my like button. We have channel memberships. We just got Patreon. If you look on there, we also have donation availability. There's Venmo and Cash App on there. If you go on there, there's a link for Amazon. It will show you the link that has been created for the equipment. The guy who's building my computer has the computer stuff on there. You'll see the microphone and everything. I could use your help. And then finally, again, I have my first sponsor is Planet, or not Planet, I'm sorry, PRT, Paranormal Roundtable, Josh Turner, Nellie Turner, Anthony, and Mushu or Tony. They are my sponsor as well. I wanted to thank them. Make sure you head over to them tonight and check out their show. Their shows, you got, as it's running across here right now, you got Tuesday, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Central. You have Thursday, Blondes and Booze with Josh Turner, 8 to 10 Central. Friday from 8:30 to 11:30. I am a guest host with Josh Turner every single week. Rye Voss occasionally is coming on. He will miss it this week. He's going to be at a concert, I believe. And the Alien Agenda is going on tonight, and Sunday is 7:30 to 10:30 with Josh Turner. Also, if you leave here tonight, head over to Paranormal Roundtable. They're rolling right now, I believe. So please support them. And other than that, I think I have addressed everything. Other than, like I said, thank you to Stacy, my wife. Thank you to Andrew and JC. And thank you to my extended family. You guys have a great night. It was a good time. Thanks to Joe Barger and Jenny, Ernie Davio. Good night, everybody. Thank you very, very much. We will see you guys next time. Tuesday, Supernatural Roundtable with Codegas, Sasquatchers, and Planet 412. Love you guys very much. We'll see. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it greatly helps out the channel. I'll see you next time on Planet 412.